Hello, my name is Robbie Young. I'm the Vice President for Society and Citizenship at the National Union of Students. So, beyond freedom of movement at NUS, one of the things we're really lobbying for is to make sure that we keep the Erasmus scheme. And we're doing so because it's really important that students and academics do have freedom of movement across the UK, but there is also movement of students and staff from universities and also colleges with the Erasmus Plus scheme. With that in mind, I think it's not a part of the negotiations, but we really want to challenge this rhetoric that's going on around international students. We think that student unions play a really vital role in challenging the anti-immigration rhetoric and anti-international student rhetoric that we're seeing at the moment. And also we think a priority is to remove international students from net migration, and that's where, beyond freedom of movement, NUS will be campaigning around the Brexit negotiations. At NUS, we think one of the biggest challenges is around protecting the rights of EU citizens in the UK, because we know that EU member states are probably quite apprehensive around this at the moment, but also what happens to graduates post-Brexit. You know, I have friends now who work for many organisations in the UK that are actually unsure about what's going to happen to them come Brexit. And we think this needs to be the priority before we start talking about trade and any of the negotiations. I think the first thing we need to do as the UK is ensure that the EU rights are protected as citizens in the UK. So post-Brexit, NUS will be continuing to campaign around the skills gap, because we know that there are huge gaps in skills in the UK, and we know that lots of EU workers come over here and work in our universities, in our hospitals, in our factories, and we know that if those EU citizens were to leave, there would be a huge gap in many of the industries in the UK, and the government have been failing to fund further education and fund technical education, and so we know that our priority must be to fill that gap, to get good quality apprenticeships into the education system, and to ensure that our colleges get the right funding so that many people in the UK can fill those trades post-Brexit. So for the education sector post-Brexit, we're quite worried about the outlook for the future around the economy, because we know that the EU really funds universities and research, which provides jobs and helps our economy, but also helps our local colleges. You know, the college where I trained to be a lecturer in Plymouth was hugely funded by the EU and was helped to be built by EU projects. And we're quite worried that the future would lead to more instability financially, because we don't know where these education grants, these education research funders will come from. So at NUS, we're looking at many areas around Brexit, from education to fees to funding, but also to the rise in hate crime and, I guess, the repeal bill. My role, I'm very much looking at the repeal bill and ensuring that the Human Rights Act isn't scrapped by this government, and my campaign will be to ensure that the British Bill of Rights doesn't ever become enshrined into our law, and that we keep the EU Human Rights Act that we signed over 20 years ago, and that will be my priority as the Vice President for Society and Citizenship at the National Union of Students.